What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Ultra League submitted to the channel by fellow content creator and the king of Shadow Pokemon himself, JamieFinn1415, who's running, as you might expect, a triple Shadow team with all three members getting buffed this season with Golduck, Tyrantrum, and Aurorus. Now realistically, you're only going to see insane teams like this either on my channel or on Jamie's channel, so if you are new to either of our channels, I 100% recommend subscribing to both, and it should be very easy to do with YouTube's new collaboration feature. Also, for regular viewers of my channel, and especially the longer term viewers, you'll know that I produce the music that you hear in the background of my videos, as well as my live streams where you'll hear a wider variety of tracks. And it's been a few years, but I have recently started making music again and have a little sneak peek of a song that I'll be releasing on the channel at some point in the near future. I don't know exactly when it will release, but in the meantime you can listen to other tracks in my music playlist. But for now, let's take a listen to that new track. So there you have it. Obviously, it's not going to be to everyone's taste, but if you are excited for it to be released in full, make sure you show some support in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's get into the question of the day. Which monotype Pokemon do you think should have a secondary typing, and what do you think that secondary typing should be? Let me know in the comment section down below. And with that being said, let's finally get into the battles now. Alright, so go into the first battle, leading Shadow Golduck into Hydreigon. Of course, not an ideal matchup for us as we are on Confusion. We're going to be safe swapping into Tyrantrum, and we're met with a Shadow Toxicroak. So pretty cool team from the opponent so far. We go straight for Crunch. They actually no-shield that, and now it will require 2 shields, but we can flip this matchup. So we're going to shield the first move as they full send the Dynamic Punch, and they will unfortunately just barely reach a second Dynamic Punch there, just barely hanging on with 1 HP and a Dream. But we're going to double shield. Let's see what they want to do. The opponent is going to come back in with a Drapion, so now we're going to full send a Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is unfortunately shielded by the opponent. Now, Tyrantrum did actually also gain access to Rock Tomb this season, but Rock Tomb, as we've seen from the likes of Credilli, from Claydol, it's a bit annoying. We'd much rather see Tyrantrum boosting up its attack stat. However, in this situation, of course, the opponent is going to correctly shield the Meteor Beam, no shield the Crunch, not ideal for us, but we're now going to come in with the Shadow Golduck. The opponent is going to go and full send the Crunch there, but Shadow Golduck not actually a Psychic type Pokemon like it looks like there, but the opponent catches a cross chop, meaning they're gonna have to shield. Now we can come in with the Shadow Aurorus, and unless they're running Flash Cannon for coverage here, we should be fine. They go for a Dragon Pulse. It does big damage, but we farm up to back-to-back Weather Balls. First Weather Ball will be getting the KO up against this Hydreigon, and we will be, of course, throwing a second Weather Ball straight away into Drapion coming back in. Weather Ball gets the KO there, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, we're going to see Cobalion in the lead. So this is an okay matchup for us. The opponent isn't going to throw on perfect timing here, but we are, of course, going to no-shield the first charge move. We're now going to look to throw on good timing, but unfortunately, that actually allows the opponent to reach a second Sacred Sword. And whilst that probably wouldn't quite get the KO there, it would prevent us from getting off both cross chops. So we are going to shield. We then farm up to basically 100 energy there. So we actually don't end up throwing on good timing in the end anyways, but we do land both cross chops there, getting them very low. The opponent is, however, still able to tank that, and now we're going to come in with our Tyrantrum. Tyrantrum just barely able to get a full farm down. They're going to come in with the Togekiss, and we're not baiting, we're not messing around, we're full sending Meteor Beam, and the opponent does not respect the damage. They've got Skeledirge in the back, and this should already be game over. The opponent is going to throw straight away, giving us a full Dragon Tail in for free. They go for Disarming Voice, which is ideal coverage for them in this matchup, but it's just not going to be enough because they gave the full Dragon Tail in for free. We can go for 1 Dragon Tail each time, fire off back-to-back crunches. The second crunch is boosted, it gets the KO there, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Gastrodon in the lead, so a fairly neutral matchup for us here, and probably where we want to see it, as we do have two Pokemon in the back that are, of course, rock types. They're going to be weak to the ground typing. They are going to go and full send an Earth Power there. We farmed up to back-to-back liquidations. First one, going to be no-shielded, and now we're actually going to swap Snipe with the Dragon Tail damage from our Shadow Tyrantrum before they can reach a second Earth Power, and the opponent's going to come in with a Dunsparce. Now, of course, having Rock Tomb here would be ideal for us, as we could debuff their attack, but Meteor Beam is at least going to force a shield there. Are we going to shield this? We are actually going to shield the Tyrantrum. Can we still reach a Crunch? Well, it doesn't matter, as the opponent's actually going to swap out of that matchup and come in with a Corviknight. We're going for Crunch. Crunch is non-stab, but we are boosted. It would deal decent damage here, and the opponent is still going to have to settle for a payback, as unfortunately for them, Air Cutter does not get the KO, so we do reach a second Crunch. All shields are down. Crunch does respectable damage there, and we will just allow them to farm us down there. We can now come in with the Aurorus, and we should be fine if they're not on Iron Head, which is quite unlikely these days. Payback is the recommended secondary charge move there. We're now going to look to overfarm, fire off a Weather Ball just before they reach the next Air Cutter. Weather Ball gets the KO there. They come back in with the Dunsparce, and we can still outpace them to a Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam, one of the best charge moves in the game. It does huge damage. We're just going to stay in, force the opponent to throw their energy, and I believe Golduck does have residual energy here. We're going straight for Cross Chop, and of course, super effective damage. From this range, it will be taking out the Dunsparce, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, leading into a Shadow Venusaur, so not actually that bad for us, as we do have Confusion, and we are very fast to the charge moves. They are all going to be resisted, but the opponent doesn't know that. We could also have access to the likes of Psychic and Ice Beam there. The opponent's actually going to swap out of that matchup and into for Alligator. We fire off Cross Chop number one. We're going to look to overfarm. We throw on the Stampede type Shadow Golduck, winning CMP in this matchup. Huge for us, and the opponent, of course, does throw straight away. So Cross Chop is able to connect. It doesn't do too much damage there, as it is non-stab, but it has hopefully put them into range where we can shield once with the Shadow Tyrantrum and go for a full Dragon Tail farm down. So it looks like the play here, we are going to shield, as the opponent is going to bait with a Hydro Cannon, but it doesn't matter, they do not reach a second charge move there, but they're going to come in with Empoleon. Empoleon, really difficult for us to deal with now that Golduck has gone down. We go for a Crunch. Crunch does grab a shield there, and we can reach a second Crunch, but Crunch, unfortunately, not really going to do that much damage. It does drop the defense, however, but Aurorus only has double resisted fast move damage, and Weather Ball is also going to be double resisted. We are not in a great position. The opponent actually swaps out of that matchup. We have to commit to a farm down, but unfortunately for us, the opponent is going to reach a charge move. Frenzy Plant easily takes out Shadow Aurorus, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see Belly Bolt in the lead. So, of course, not a great matchup for us. We will be swapping straight away into our Shadow Tyrantrum, and we're met with a Jellicent. Now, Crunch is going to hit for super effective damage. However, Meteor Beam would do more damage in this matchup, and it would boost up our attack, so kind of surprised we don't go straight for a Meteor Beam, but either way, the opponent is going to go for a Surf Bait, which is not enough damage to get the KO. Now we can fire off another Crunch. Crunch number two is going to be shielded by the opponent. At this point, we're actually going to no-shield this. We're happy to take a shield advantage, probably come back in with the Shadow Golduck, and then look to go for a full Confusion farm down. We get the farm down before they reach a Shadow Ball, which is ideal. They're going to come back in with the Belly Bolt, and we will fire off a Cross Chop immediately, looking to throw before they can boost up the defense. And of course, the opponent is going to bank a ton of energy, but they swap into Skuntank. We're resisting the fast move damage. We're going straight for Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam does huge damage there. We can definitely just shield this up. Actually, nope, we're not even going to bother shielding. What the heck? They go for Trailblaze. Trailblaze actually doesn't even do that much damage. We can now go for the Powder Snow farm down. They will be able to reach a Parabolic Charge. They're going to boost up the defense, but we're already boosted in our attack, and we've got a second Meteor Beam already loaded. Meteor Beam, once again, going to deal huge damage there. The opponent will be forced to throw a charge move. We actually don't need to shield at this point, but we are going to shield. I'm getting all these calls incorrect here from what Jamie Finn's doing, but either way, it doesn't really matter. We can go straight for the Weather Ball. Of course, Weather Ball will be taking out the Belly Bolt, despite them being double buffed in their defense, and we're able to take that game. Now into the next battle, we're going to see another electric type in the lead. We're going to swap into our Shadow Tyrantrum, and unfortunately met with a Torterra. So we're going for Crunch. Crunch is going to grab a shield there. Unfortunately, even though we do bait, we do not reach a second Crunch there. But the opponent is going to come, we're going to come in with our Shadow Golduck. We're actually going to call a bait here, and the opponent is going to go for a Sand Tomb bait. It's a huge call for us. we are going to, once again, gonna call the bait, and they bait a second time there. They swap back into Ampharos, and even with the double debuff to our defense, we do tank a Volt Switch. We're gonna come in with our Shadow Aurora, shield the first charge move, and unfortunately, we don't want to throw on CMP here, just in case we lose CMP. I don't know who wins CMP in this matchup, so instead, gonna look to overfarm. Fire off the Meteor Beam, and Meteor Beam is going to be no-shielded. It gets the KO there. We've boosted up our attack stats, and here we're going to fire off a Weather Ball. Now, we do throw after 4 Powder Snows, I believe. They've got the charge move. We're going to swap out straight away, make the catch onto our Shadow Golduck. Of course, Aura Sphere gets the KO there, and provided they don't make a catch of their own, we should be fine. But no, the opponent says, if you can make a catch like that, so can I. We go for the Weather Ball. Even if we undercharge that, it's double super effective. We won't get the farm down and come out with another charge move loaded, and as a result, Aura Sphere, double super effective, takes out the Aurorus, and we do unfortunately lose that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Como-O in the lead. So, of course, Confusion is hitting for huge damage here, but they are non-stab. We're going to no-shield. They full send a Clanging Scales. That gets the one-shot. And unfortunately, they're still going to reach a departing upper hand or another Clanging Scales, so we will be shielding. The opponent goes for upper hand there. Upper hand does have a chance to debuff our defense there, but they don't get the debuff. We're going straight for Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is going to be shielded by the Venusaur, and we will force the opponent either to go for a full farm down here, but they will have to use their second shield as we go for a crunch, and now we're swapping into Aurorus. I've just realized they're actually on Razor Leaf here, which is very interesting, something I've not seen on a Venusaur in, like, honestly, since like season 2 of the Go Battle League. But anyways, that final Pokemon gonna be a Typhlosion. We hold on to the energy there. We don't get caught this time around. Meteor Beam gets the one shot. We boost up our attack stat, and that means Weather Ball. I mean, we didn't need the boost anyways, but Weather Ball will be taking out the Venusaur, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, a fine lead matchup for us. The opponent's going to be safe swapping into Toucannon, and we can respond with the Aurorus. A little bit slow to swap out here. We are going to shield just in case they go for a Flash Cannon. It is just a Rock Blast there. Rock Blast, whilst it is super effective, it's an awful move. It's also non-stab, so it will not get the KO. So if they do throw another charge move here, they're going to look to throw on CMP. That's fine with us. We can actually afford to no-shield this. And can we now commit to a full farm down? It's going to be close. Unfortunately, we are going to have to double shield if we go for the farm down, but Aurorus loaded on energy is absolutely deadly. The opponent swells back into the Skeledirge. Fine with us. We can go straight for Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam, not respected. It gets the one shot. And their final Pokemon is going to be a Nidoqueen. We can go straight for Weather Ball. We are boosted. I don't know why they don't shield that up there. But either way, it's going to be game over. This is just a Poison Fang. Poison Fang not doing too much damage. We get the Confusion farm down. We can likely Confusion farm down to Cannon. So the opponent just concedes the match. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Dragon Breath Charizard in the lead. A fine matchup for us. We're going to swap out as we try to catch either an Air Cutter or a Blast Burn there. Both will be resisted. Blast Burn is actually double resisted, but the opponent actually swaps into Dunsparce, catching a Crunch, which is not ideal for us. But are we going to shield? No, we're actually not going to shield this time around. The opponent goes for Drill Run there, taking out the Tyrantrum, but that's fine with us. We can come in, go for 2 Confusions. Cross Chop is super effective. It is non-stab. Will it get the KO here? Cross Chop just barely getting the KO. They come back in with the Charizard, and we can live an Air Cutter. So we're going to no-shield this. The opponent goes for the Air Cutter. We then swap. We try to catch the next Air Cutter, but the opponent swaps into Venusaur. So we still have play here. We are spammier than the Venusaur. We go straight for Weather Ball, and Weather Ball, of course, it's only a 35 energy charge move. It got buffed this season. It's going to deal decent damage here, especially in the 2-shield scenario with the Powder Snows adding up over time. We're going to fire off a second Weather Ball. Weather Ball number 2 is going to be shielded by the Venusaur. And at this point, our switch clock is coming up. The opponent likely going to try and make a combo play, going for the charge move. So we swap into our Shadow Golduck, and it works out perfectly for us. The opponent full sends the Blast Burn. Now we can overfarm just slightly here, firing off the Weather Ball. Weather Ball will be enough damage to take out the Charizard, and we can now outpace them to another Weather Ball, and Shadow Aurorus gonna be sweeping this end game here, taking out the Venusaur, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Florges in the lead. So this is a bit of an awkward matchup for us as they do have access to both Chilling Water and Trailblaze. They're going to go for Chilling Water there. So debuffing our attack there doesn't mean they're not on Trailblaze. Trailblaze wouldn't get the one shot anyway. So maybe if they are running that combination, maybe it does make sense to go for Chilling Water first. Here, we're going to no shield and the opponent is going to go for the Trailblaze there. So Trailblaze gets the KO. We can now come in with the Auroras. Of course, Tyrantrum going to hit for double resisted damage with the Dragon Tails. We're definitely going to shield both Trailblaze and Chilling Water, going to hit for super effective damage. Because they debuff our attack there, unfortunately, not going to be able to go for a full farm down. So we fire off a Weather Ball. Weather Ball gets the KO there. They're going to come in with a Charizard, and we're going straight for Meteor Beam. We're debuffed, but it doesn't really matter. Meteor Beam is definitely going to threaten a shield. We are once again going to look to try and catch a Blast Burn there. Doesn't work out for us, and the opponent is going to throw just before we reach a crunch. But we are going to double resist Blast Burn. It still does quite a lot of damage there, but they come in with their final Pokemon, a Trevenant. We can go for Crunch. Crunch does respectable damage, and that actually puts them into range where Auroras can come in, go for the Powder Snow farm down, and potentially come out with back-to-back charge moves. So, of course, gonna shield there, and we do have back-to-back moves, but unfortunately for us, Charizard also already at the Blast Burn, and Blast Burn gonna hit for neutral damage. It easily takes out Auroras, and unfortunately, we do lose that game. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Florges in the lead once again. So we are going to no-shield the first move once again. And the opponent this time going to go straight for Trailblaze. The Trailblaze does actually allow them to go for a full farm down here, but we will reach 2 charge moves before they get the farm down. So we go for Liquidation. Liquidation, going to force a shield. And at this point, we are definitely just going to no-shield. They go for another Trailblaze. So Trailblaze, they are double boosted in their attack stat. I don't know who wins CMP once again. I'm not really familiar with Auroras' stat products or Florges for that matter. So either way, we're not going to risk it. Instead, we're now going to overfarm, farming up to back-to-back Weather Balls here. Weather Ball from this range will be enough damage to get the KO, but they actually make a catch. I didn't even see that catch there, but we can come in with the Shadow Tyrantrum, of course. Going to resist the charge moves as they've only got electric type damage here. We are now going to look to overfarm, and we're full sending a Meteor Beam. Of course, they boosted up the defense there. Doesn't really matter though. Meteor Beam gets the KO there. They come back in with the Florges, and we can reach a Crunch. Crunch, of course, is going to be resisted. It's non-stab, but it grabs the final shield anyways. And we, of course, have a charge move loaded. Once again, not sure who wins CMP in this matchup, so we don't risk it. They go for a Chilling Water. Unfortunately, they've got Swampert in the back. We're debuffed. There's not a lot we can do there, unfortunately, so we are just going to concede the match. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Drifblim in the lead. So this is a neutral matchup here, but we are going to have 2 rock types in the back. We're going to swap into our Shadow Tyrantrum, and we can actually outpace them since they're on Astonish to a Crunch, and Crunch is going to hit for super effective damage, so it does grab an early shield. We're actually going to no-shield this as the opponent goes for Icy Wind. That does not get the KO there, but it does allow them to Astonish farm us down. We're going to wait out our switch clock here as the opponent is still in with their lead Pokemon. We come in with the Shadow Auroras, and the opponent is going to go for another charge move. We're going to call a bait here, and the opponent is going to go straight for an Icy Wind. That is resisted damage, so that's fine with us. We can tank that very comfortably. We're debuffed here, so we might as well boost up our attack stat with the Meteor Beam, and Meteor Beam is actually going to grab a shield, but they've used both shields here, and they've got Credilli in the back. So we are neutral with our attack stat, but Meteor Beam is going to do huge damage. It will allow us to shield once and hopefully go for a full farm down. However, of course, they can go for another debuff with the Rock Tomb. Can we get the farm down? It doesn't look like it, so we will fire off a Weather Ball. I'm actually not sure if maybe they didn't have the charge reloaded there. Maybe we could have gone for the farm down, but either way, they're going to come in with their final Pokemon, a Tentacruel here, and we are going to go straight for Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is going to be no shield, of course. All shields are down. We come in with the Shadow Golduck, and here we are going to shield the charge move. The opponent is once again going to go ahead and bait with an Icy Wind, but that's fine with us. We can go for a full Confusion farm down. We've only got resisted charge moves to throw, so this is a little bit tricky for us, but we go for Liquidation. Liquidation, not going to do much damage, and of course we have just been debuffed, but the opponent just settles for a Scald there. That's also resisted. Not really sure the idea behind that play, but either way, we go for Cross Chop. Cross Chop again does not get the KO, but we Confusion farm them down to take that game. Into the next battle, bit of an awkward lead matchup for us because we do have, of course, two rock types in the back, but Togekiss going to resist the Dragon Tail damage, and it has Aura Sphere to probably one-shot Aurorus as well, so not ideal for us. We're actually just going to stay in this matchup, go straight for Liquidation. Liquidation does respectable damage there, and it will force the opponent to throw their next move straight away. So, of course, from this range, Aura Sphere gets the KO. We're going to actually come in with Tyrantrum and go for a resisted Dragon Tail farm down, get off two Dragon Tails before they come in with a Guzzlord, and we're already at the Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam, if this connects, is going to do huge damage, and the opponent does not respect it. At this point, we're boosted in our attack stat. We've already seen probably the worst answer to the Tyrantrum with their Togekiss, and so they come in with a Tentacruel. So we're going straight for Crunch this time around, but we are boosted. Crunch from a Shadow Tyrantrum is going to do big damage, so we do grab a shield. We're going to look to double shield our Shadow Tyrantrum here as the opponent fires off a Scald. Scald is unfortunately looking like it's going to debuff our attack there. We're going to go for another Crunch. Crunch, number 2, going to be shielded. We swap into our Shadow Aurorus. And of course, we do have access to Meteor Beam. The opponent going to go straight for a Scald. Scald does decent damage there. We are going to go straight for the Meteor Beam, but the opponent makes a beautiful catch there. I believe we actually waited one turn just to make sure that catch didn't happen. And yet they were still able to make the catch anyways. But either way, at this point, the opponent will be throwing, but they don't overfarm enough. So now we can come in with Shadow Tyrantrum, and Tyrantrum able to outpace them to a last-second Crunch. And of course, Crunch from this range takes out the Tentacruel, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, bit of an awkward matchup here into a Sizzle, a non-Shadow Sizzle, which is actually kind of rare to see. Both hitting for resisted fast move damage. We have non-stab Confusion, so not dealing that much damage. They actually shield the first charge move there. Cross Shot wouldn't do that much in all honesty. They can go for a Trailblaze, and we kind of need to preserve the HP on our Golduck because we've got two Pokemon that are very weak to Sizzle in the back, especially if they boost up their attack stat with the Trailblaze. We're not going to double shield, however. This is going to be very awkward, but they go for a Night Slash there. We can tank it, we get off one more Confusion, and that will allow us to go for a Dragon Tail farm down. Of course, they can fire off another charge move. Night Slash is already boosted. It does decent damage there, but we do get the KO, and their next Pokemon is going to be a Lapras. So here, we're actually going to look to overfarm, throw a Meteor Beam on the CMP tie, and Meteor Beam is going to grab the final shield. With the Sizzle in the lead, hopefully that is the best answer to our Aurorus in the back. We've still got a shield here. The opponent is going to go straight for Sparkling Aria, but that's fine with us. We can definitely use our final shield, and let's see. The opponent, are they going to try and make a catch? They do, but they swap into Skeledirge, and this time we do not throw straight away. We farm up to well over 100 energy. Doesn't really make a difference. Meteor Beam gets the one shot there, and we will still outpace the Lapras. We are now boosted here. Meteor Beam, super effective damage. It will easily take out that shiny Lapras, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Golduck into Belly Bolt once again. So once again, going to say swap into our Tyrantrum, and unfortunately met with a Primeape. So Primeape, of course, could have access to Ice Punch or Close Combat. We're going to no shield. They do actually bait there with a Rage Fist. Doesn't really help us that much because they can now just go for a boosted Karate Chop farm down, and especially since they do shield the charge move there. Of course, all our charge moves are resisted, but Meteor Beam honestly probably would have got the KO there. At this point, we are going to shield at the last second. Unfortunately, it is just a bait there with the Rage Fist, but we can go for Liquidation. We get the farm down. Liquidation is going to connect, and now we swap into Aurorus, and the opponent swaps out. They blind swap there, but they've got Galarian Moltres in the back, and Aurorus, once again, not going to bother baiting. We full send the Meteor Beam, and the fact they shield doesn't really matter because we can go for a boosted Weather Ball. However, we do end up throwing, unfortunately, on CMP here, and we lose CMP. So are we going to go for an undercharge? Nope, we're going to fully charge this. Weather Ball gets the KO there. They're going to come back in with the Belly Bolt, and now it's our turn to swap and make a catch, as the opponent is going to go for Parabolic Charge there. They do undercharge that likely, but that actually allows us to reach a Liquidation before they farm us down, and Liquidation gets the KO there, and we're able to take that game. Into next battle, another electric type in the lead, and again, another Torterra swapping into us. I don't know if this is the same battler or if maybe it's a team that a content creator put out a video on. Either way, definitely not ideal for us. I believe we did lose the previous one due to a very nice catch there from the opponent, so let's see if we can get redemption this time around. Once again, gonna no-shield this, and the opponent is once again go for a sand tomb bait there, so of course, we're gonna no-shield once again. The opponent this time learned their lesson, they go for Frenzy Plant, but we can come in, we get the Powder Snow farm down, we've got a decent amount of energy already, we are close to the Weather Ball, they come back in with the Ampharos, and we are definitely gonna shield here. The opponent goes for Trailblaze, boosting up their attack stat. We're going to look to overfarm and once again full send in the Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. And this point, we are definitely going to double shield. Again, going to look to overfarm in this matchup as the opponent fires off a Brutal Swing. That's fine with us, and there is the same team. It's going to be a Togekiss in the back, but this time, we can full send the Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam gets the one shot. We're boosted. Well, actually, double boosted. We can just settle for the Weather Ball, and Weather Ball double boosted, gets the KO up against the Ampharos, and we're able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.